Welcome to the GetRealWealth.com radio show, where wealth means a lot more than just building a second stream of income. Listen and learn how 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate to create a lifestyle that most people only dream about. A lifestyle that includes good health, family, romance, travel, charity, and all the other parts of a balanced life. Now, here is your host, real estate investor and mentor, Steve Davis.
Good afternoon and welcome to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I am your host, Steve Davis, where as always, we are talking about primarily using real estate to build a second stream of income that allows you to lead a life that's worth living. A lot of people are suffering. The vast majority of Americans are suffering, with 95% of them failing to retire by age 65. And what we're going to discuss today is why that's occurring. In other words, the question, when you hear those statistics, 95% of Americans fail to retire by age 65, 36% are dead by age 65, why would a nation of 350 million people, maybe more now, all do something that we've known for over 100 years doesn't work? In other words, those statistics were the exact same 100 years ago. I played a little excerpt from a radio show from literally 100 years ago where a guy goes, 95% of Americans fail, only 5% are successful. And that was 100 years ago. So this is not new. So why are people doing it? There's multiple explanations that I've found in multiple books. Everything from mass insanity, which sounds funny, but one of the definitions of mass insanity, I think this was put out there by Albert Einstein, is that if you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, that's a form of insanity. Many of you have worked at jobs for 10 years, 20 years, some of you even longer. You're still not in the financial position you want to be in. And guess what you would do tomorrow if you lost your job? Go find another job. It hadn't worked for the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, but for some reason, some insane reason, you think it's going to work if you do it another 10 or 20 years. The other reason people don't do it is because they don't know anything else to do. I get that. But it is a form of insanity. Another explanation is mass stupidity. But I don't believe that one. I think everybody's pretty darn sharp, unless you've got some genetic disorder or something like that. But if you're a normal human being, you're a lot smarter than you think you are. But why do you continue to do the same thing over and over again? The problem I found when I was trying to get out of just working a job and I was trying to find out how to be financially independent was it was very hard to look in the mirror and go, yeah, you're insane, you're stupid, that's why you're failing. It wasn't really beneficial. Well, fortunately, I was reading a book by a man named Anthony Robbins called Unlimited Power. And in his book, he explains why this happens. So I'm going to refer to 3 different books as my resource material for this show. The first, I just mentioned, Anthony Robbins' Unlimited Power. The second is Stephen Covey's work, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Highly Effective People. The third book, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I took the information from those 3 books to come up with this that I'm about to present to you. This is going to consume about the first half of the show, so I'm not going to open the phone lines till I get this material out because I don't want to get interrupted. So why would a nation of 350 million people all follow a path that we know doesn't work? I'm here to assure you that it's not because you're insane and it's not because you're stupid. See, we all start somewhere. And for this example, let's pretend like that's Houston, Texas, Greater Houston, Texas. And we want to get to love, happiness, wealth, joy, good health. That's our goal. And as Colonel A.I. Thomas used to call it, Disney World. We want to get to Disney World. And from the time we're old enough to walk, people start telling us how to get to Disney World. First our parents, then our teachers, then our co-workers and bosses. Don't they? People are always giving you advice about how to get to Disney World. This is how you become successful. This is what you do. And then you turn to financial planners, and they tell you how to get to Disney World. But one of two things is going to wake you up and make you rethink your path to Disney World. Either a financial catastrophe like I had, where they came in and cut my pay by $20,000 a year. That woke me up, and that made me reevaluate my path, or map, as Stephen Covey calls it. I realized, the map I'm on is not working. Other people are not as lucky. They wait till midlife. They wake up on that 35th birthday. They go 2 times 35 is 70. I'm halfway there, and they look around them, and they say, I'm nowhere near what? Disney World. The problem, and this is Stephen Covey's work, is that what most people do at that juncture is they blame themselves. They say things like, I'm not smart enough. So they go back to formal education, get more formal education, another degree or a master's degree. Others will say they're not working hard enough. They go from 40 hours a week to 50 to 60 to 70 hours a week. Others think it's their attitude. So they take motivational courses and they work on their attitude, and they get this super positive attitude. Here's the problem. All that more formal education can do, all that working harder can do, is get you to the wrong place faster, because the problem is not with you. The problem is with the map. Guess where the people that taught you how to get to Disney World have never been? Disney World. It's that simple. How can they teach you how to get to joy, happiness, financial wealth, physical wealth, meaning your fitness? How can they teach you how to get there if they've never been there? Let's hack away at the financial planner for a moment. The average financial planner in the United States makes $65,000 a year. Yet for some reason you go hire them to teach you how to retire. They can't do it for themselves, but somehow they're going to do it for you. We'll talk more about this when we come back from the break. This is the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. You're listening to AM 700, the voice of Texas, KSEV. Did you know that 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate as their main investment vehicle? You can and should have some real estate in your portfolio. This is Steve Davis, host of the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Starting with bad credit and no money at age 27, I began investing in real estate. By 30, I was retired. I will be explaining this at a free 2-hour introductory workshop this month. If you would like to attend, go to GetRealWealth.com. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thank you for listening. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. You can always find us online at GetRealWealth.com. Find out about the mentoring and the teachings that are available there. Right now, we're talking about the map. This is, of course, Stephen Covey's term, and it's basically coming to the realization that the people that gave you your map for life were unqualified to do so. Not malicious, not stupid. In fact, if you think about your parents, they loved you and wanted the best for you. The problem was they didn't know it. They had never been taught it. because their parents were also not in the financial position that you want to be in. And their parents were not in the financial position that you want to be in. It's a vicious cycle where it's just passed on generation after generation after generation. Nobody figures it out. But what happens is someone does. And that changes your entire family's future. This is why Robert Kiyosaki talks about how the rich pass on habits that make you rich. The poor pass on habits that keep them poor. The middle class passes on habits that keeps them in the middle class. So what you've got to do is first stop blaming yourself. Realize that working harder at the same thing is not going to get you where you want to be. Getting another degree in formal education, college or high school or whatever, is not going to get you where you want to go. And just having a PMA, positive mental attitude, is not going to change the fact that you're doing the wrong things. You have to have someone on your team that is, guess where? In Disney World. You have to have someone on your team that is where you're trying to go. We talked about this a little bit on Sunday's show, which is actually not heard on this station. You can get the full schedule. We're on 7 days a week, sometimes twice a day. You can get the full schedule at getrealwealth.com. Just click on the radio tab. The full schedule is there. You can also podcast the shows. You can also read the transcripts of the shows. There's all kinds of resources there to get this information into your head or to repeat it, which I'm that type. If I hear a great radio show, I listen to it 3 or 4 times. If I listen to a CD or book, I listen to it. I've listened to the 7 Habits over 15 times, the entire 6 CDs over 15 times, so that I understood the material and could teach it, of course, but for it to change my life as well, I have to hear stuff over and over again. I guess I'm a slow learner, but when I do learn it, it's in there permanently. So the question then comes down to, how do you get someone on your team? And this is a huge sales pitch for Real Wealth Academy, but it doesn't have to be our company. You could use another company. There's multiple companies out there in the Houston area that teach this material. But you've got to get with one of them. Does that make sense? How are you going to learn this if nobody around you knows it? If all your friends are in the same financial position or worse than you are, how are you going to learn this? You got to read, you got to listen, and you got to get a mentor. You've got to. That changes everything. And then you become the person that changes your family tree. As a good friend of mine, Natalie, used to call it. She said, look, I've always grown, my relatives have always been poor or middle class. She was the first one to go beyond that to financial independence. But now she's teaching her kids. Her kids will teach their kids. Do you see how it changes? And not over generations. It changed in one generation. You should make the decision that you're the generation that's going to change your family tree, because it's so rewarding. There's nothing, I mean, my son graduated college with $4,000 a month passive income. You think that doesn't make me feel good? I promise you it does. More than anything I ever did for my son, that is the thing I'm most proud of. Because I now know that he knows how to teach his son and daughter how to do the same thing. And they'll be able to teach their kids, and so on and so on. So there it is in a nutshell. You have to be on the right map. Then and only then does hard work matter, dedication, motivation. Only then do all those things begin to actually have an effect on your life. Otherwise, they're just doing more of the same thing Having a positive mental attitude and doing the same thing is not going to change the results you get when you have the wrong map. So let me give you one more example from Stephen Covey. Please read the book, get the CDs, or download it off audible.com. He talks about a person with a literal map, and I can't remember what cities he uses, but just pretend like you live in Houston, and by accident at the printing company, they have labeled the map of Dallas as Houston. And you go buy the map, and you begin to work on getting from one side of town to the other. And you lay out your map, and you draw your lines, and you choose which roads you're going to take, and you begin to work. You begin to drive. Does it matter if you double your efforts? Does it matter if you go take a class on map reading or get a master's degree in map reading? Does a positive mental attitude change anything? It doesn't, because the map is wrong. No matter how hard you work at that map of Dallas that's mistakenly labeled Houston, you'll never get where you're going. Doubling your efforts means nothing. Getting motivated means nothing. Getting more degrees means nothing, because the map is wrong. So make sure that you are reading and you get yourself a mentor that has the map to Disney World or Nirvana or whatever you prefer to call it. I thought I had come up with the term Disney World when I was listening to a couple of radio shows and realized everybody uses that phrase. Get to Disney World. Some use Disneyland. In fact, I had a guest on the radio show Friday who used it, which shocked me, because I really thought I had come up with this idea of getting to Disney World. It's been out there for decades. People have been sharing this information for decades. So I want you to start thinking about, what is your Disney World? We talked about it on Friday. What's your why? Why do you want real estate? Why do you want more money? Just to have a big stack of money? No, it's what you think that money will do for you. It's what you're going to use that money for. Is it to spend more time with your kids, to romance your wife, to have more time to go to the gym and take care of yourself so you live the highest quality lifestyle you can possibly have? What is it? And then make sure you have a map that can take you to your Disney World. Okay. Let me open the phone lines now. It's 281-558-5738. 281-558-5738. Or you're welcome to email me. It's steve@getrealwealth.com. I'm sorry, asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Either of those will get to me. Ask Steve just lets me know it's a question from the radio show. So please use that. Ask Steve@getrealwealth.com. And this can be a question on anything I've covered today or not. In other words, many of you are sitting there going, I get it. I want some passive income, but. And what comes after that is what I'd like you to call me about. If you say, but I'm afraid I can't find good deals. But I've heard it's an up market. It's harder to find good. But I don't have enough money. But I don't have. Tell me what your excuse, your problem, your challenge is with getting out there and starting to build these passive streams of income, and I will show you how to eliminate that and move forward on your goals. Every one of you can do this. It's just a matter of having the right map. And that's what this show is about. Getting that map out there. Granted, it's a radio show. I can't give you the whole map, but you get my point. I can at least get you on your way till you find a mentor. So give me a call, 281-558-5738. That's 281-558-KSEV. All right, let's go to a couple of emailed questions. The first is from I'm not even going to try this last name. We'll call him Bill. He says, hey, I have a property, $260,000. Bought it for $260,000. Current market is $310,000. Has a 15-year mortgage. Interest rate 2.625. Wow, that's low. That's nice. He doesn't have to pay any capital gains, of course, if he sells it. Now, here's a lesson for you to learn that is important about rental property. People often wonder why at Real Wealth Academy we're only buying property between $150,000 and $220,000. It's because that's the sweet spot for rents. You get the most dollars per square foot in that price range. Once you go past the $220,000, your rents per square foot start to go down. People will say, well, a $400,000 house should rent for twice as much as a $200,000 house. Not the case at all. At all. So this particular property is not a good rent property, and you know why. It's a $310,000 house. We'll finish this question and get the answer to you after the break here on the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Call me at 281-558-KSEV. You're listening to AM 700, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. $70% of the millionaires in America used real estate as their main investment vehicle. Listen to the GetRealWealth.com radio show to find out how you can do it too. Saturdays at 9 a.m. right here on the Voice of Texas, AM 700 KSEV. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. We're talking about using real estate to build passive streams of income that allow you to lead a higher quality of lifestyle. Yes, some of the people take this information and go get very rich. $100,000 a month passive income, even more than that for some people. But that's not really what I focus on. I focus on meeting and exceeding your wants and needs. Now, I guess that's the same thing, because some people, their wants and needs are $100,000 a month. But for most people, it's somewhere around $10,000 a month. That gives you plenty of money to pay all your bills and have money left over for travel, for romance, for fitness, for whatever it is you want to do with your life. So that's what I'm really talking about. And the phone lines are open for your questions on how to do it at 281-558-5738. That's 281-558, this station, KSEV, 281-558-5738. So let's get back to this email where a guy has a $310,000 home, about $50,000 equity in it, and he's asking, what should I do? Well, the first thing you've got to understand is that this guy's in a negative cash flow situation. Why? Because he's out of the sweet spot. He went above the $220,000 price up into the $310,000, and those things just don't produce enough rent to cover the fact that they have double the expenses, or 50% more expenses, 50% more taxes, 50% more insurance, but the rent didn't go up 50%. So his question is, what should I do with this property? The answer is very simple and obvious. Sell it. That $50,000 is going to be tax-free to you. Take that $50,000 and buy 3 or 4 rent properties in that $150,000 to $220,000. Take that $50,000, use it as down payments to acquire 3 or 4 of the correct rental properties, and that should produce you somewhere between $1,200. Is that right? Yeah, $1,200 and $1,600 a month cash flow, literally for the rest of your life, and that will go up almost every year. Almost every year. So there's my advice there, and the lesson for everybody to take away from this: don't go above that $220,000 price unless there's a really, really good reason. And that reason would, of course, have to be something to do with the cash flow. An example where it would work: what if you were able to buy the $300,000 house in perfect shape after you bought it for just half price. Does that make sense? In other words, if you can get a $300,000 house and it falls in that $150,000 to $220,000 price, does it make sense why you could go ahead and do that deal? Yeah, because your mortgage is going to be so low, you're going to have positive cash flow. So nothing wrong with that. The only concern I would have is you'd have so much equity in the house, it'd be better to sell it and go buy a bunch more of the $150,000 to $220,000 homes than it would to just let that equity sit there in what we call dead equity, where it's really not performing at the level that it should be. Okay, phone lines are open, 281-558-5738. Let's go to the phone lines now and talk to Kevin. Kevin, thank you so much for calling in. How are you today?
Doing well. Always like your program.
Thanks. I appreciate it. How can I help?
2017, bought a 16-unit dilapidated apartment complex for $250,000 with $50,000 down.
Okay.
And put roughly $450,500 in it.
Say that again. How much?
$450 to almost $500, just under $500 in it.
Okay.
We've completely gutted it. Evicted there's only 4 people that were even living there, but evicted, got everybody out, gutted it from roof to slab, everything brand new. New water, new lines, electrical, new AC, intermittently, metered water and electric, all electric, hard surfaces everywhere, granite, soft closed doors and drawers.
Wow,
all
sounds nice.
New windows, new insulation, everything. Finally, after about 18 months, we got it up and running. We've got all of them rented except for 2.
Okay.
May rent those this next week. But would like, we're cash flowing and then refinance. Got almost all of our money out of it, and I've had one partner. He's 100% paid off and drawing payments.
Okay.
I'd like to see how can I use that now. And now with the cash flow and analysis, it's a $1.6 million property.
Wow. So you've got $750 in it, and you brought it up to $1.6 million. That's crazy.
So did that.
Well done.
Thanks, but I'd like to see how can I leverage that cash flow? Yeah,
so you've got a lot of cash flow because you're still, when you refinanced it, how much did you refinance out of it?
8.
So you got wow. So you owe about half on it. You're sitting there with $800,000 equity. There's 2 options that come to mind. Now, this one can be hard because there is some emotional attachment to your first deal. So a lot of people don't like what I'm saying. I would probably sell it because you've done a tremendous job with this property. Sell it for 1.6, pull out that $800,000 and use it towards, I don't know, a 200 unit or something bigger, Kevin. I'm assuming you're a member of a real estate investor group to know how to do what you did.
No, I'm not.
You're not. You just did that. That is sharp, Kevin.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to take a full credit. I worked with Dell personally years ago when he was a manager at President's First Lady. I was a floor guard. I polished equipment just like he did.
Wow.
But 5 years ago, if not earlier than that, I wanted to join, and I listened, and I went to the 2-day. I just couldn't afford it because my wife at the time wouldn't let me.
Yeah, but that still counts. You're still a member of LU, Lifestyles Unlimited, an outstanding group. So, yeah, my preference would be to sell it, get that all $800,000 out, and then go leverage that into a bigger deal.
Well,
the next thing, the only other option that I can think of would be when did you refinance it last?
Inside 12 months.
About 12 months ago. Let's see.
I'd say less. No, less. It's May of last year.
Okay, so not even 12 months. Let me do 0.08 times $1.6 million. See, you could refinance that again and go ahead and cut your cash flow down on it by taking a higher mortgage. But you could pull out about $400,000, another $400,000 at an 80% LTV, which is hard to find. You know, a lot of them want 70% LTV, but you could find somebody to do it. It's going to have a little bit higher interest rate. It's, of course, going to knock the cash flow down because you got a higher mortgage payment, and take that $400,000. Again, I don't really like that strategy.
I'd rather sell it.
Yeah, I'd rather you sell it, take the whole 800, and 1031 it into. You know what a 1031 is?
I do, but it's in an opportunity zone, so I wouldn't have to obviously have deferred capital gains for at least 10 years.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah. Whatever you do to make sure that 800 is tax free or tax deferred. So yeah, that's what I would do, Kevin.
Okay. Who's a sharp real estate agent that can sell that for me?
Oh yeah, and yeah, there's tons of good ones out there. Do this though, Kevin. My strategy for working with realtors sounds kind of corny, but I don't work with a realtor that I'm not extremely comfortable with, I can laugh with, just a good person. I've dealt with people that had these incredible records of sales, and they were not quality people. And I don't know how to put it without being rude. Make sure you find somebody you're really comfortable with, that you trust, and that you have good rapport with and can communicate with very, very effectively. Because once the negotiation begins, you're going to be dealing with a sophisticated buyer, not just somebody buying a home. A sophisticated buyer is going to want somebody they can communicate with very, very well and effectively. So make sure you can communicate with your realtor. So there's my tip for picking a realtor.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, Kevin, you take care. Thanks for calling. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, anybody else that has a question, give me a call, 281-558-5738, 281-558-5738. That's KSEV 5738. Or email me. It's asksteve@getrealwealth.com. asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Let's go to this next question. This is a gentleman from New Jersey. We'll just call him Jay. He says, what are some good marketing strategy tips? He's a wholesaler. This is a wholesale question. What are some good marketing strategy tips for someone like me with a full-time job that works literally 60 hours a week? Usually I'm working 12 hours a day, so when I get home, I have no time to cold call or drive for deals to get further on with my wholesaling real estate. What are some things you guys can recommend for me? Well, there were a lot of different things come to mind, Jay, and it is first, in the initial stages as a wholesaler, you're going to have to suck it up and tough it out till you get yourself out of that 60-hour work week. What you need is to set up a system, wholesaling system, that makes you $5 to $10 grand a month. In other words, you're doing one deal a month. Once you've done that for 6 months and you feel confident that you can continue it, Jay, I want you to go back to your employer and get out of that 60 hours a week. It may mean leaving that company, but do it for your health as well as for your financial well-being. Working 60 hours a week is extremely unhealthy. This has been proven in France. It's been proven in England, Japan. How the suicide rate, heart disease, there's something else, stress-related diseases are all increased dramatically once you go above 45, 50 hours a week. We'll talk more about Jay's question when we come back from the break here on the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. You're listening to AM 700, the voice of Texas, KSEV. Thanks for listening.
Did you
know that 95% of Americans fail to retire by age 65 and 36% are dead? The good news is that here at the GetRealWealth.com radio show, we know what the other 5% are doing. 70% of them own real estate. We are a mentoring group for new and experienced real estate investors. We will show you how to build a second stream of income that will allow you to retire at any age. I will be explaining this at a free 2-hour introductory workshop this month. If you would like to attend, please go to GetRealWealth.com. That's GetRealWealth.com. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis, and we're answering listener questions. This email comes from Jay, and he's a wholesaler struggling because he works so much. He's working 60 hours a week. You add wholesaling, and my concern, Jay, is where's your time for romance? Where's your time for fitness? Where's your time? You've got to stay on target because you're going to suffer. But you're going to have to suck it up because you got yourself, no one put a gun to your head, you got yourself into a 60-hour-a-week job. So we got to get you out of that gradually. And the way to do that is what I described. Set up a system, and I'll give you some tips on locating deals in a second. Set up a system where you're doing one deal a month and making $5 to $10 grand every month on the side. Then get back to your company as soon as you feel confident that you can continue to do that, and tell them, I cannot continue to work 60 hours a week. It's just super unhealthy for every aspect of your life, and if you're married, it's not gonna be good. So now some tips for locating deals. I used a group of 20 plus agents as leverage for my time. I cultivated a group of 20 agents that all knew me, knew what I was looking for. And what happens is agents come across deals that cannot be bought by anyone but an investor. And they can't sell them to owner occupants, which is who they usually sell to, because there's so much damage to the property. And really, it doesn't even have to be that much. I think if there's just carpet, I could be wrong on this, but I was told one time if there's just carpet missing in a couple of the rooms, they won't finance you. Fannie Mae or FHA won't finance you. So you can see when they find a home that is distressed, they will look to find investors to buy it. So the first thing you want to do, Jay, is join a real estate investor group like our club or whatever club's near you, and get a list of buyers. The big mistake, Jay, that most people make is most wholesalers make, is they go find a deal and then they go look for buyers. It doesn't even make sense, because when you find a deal, you may only have 3-4 days to find the earnest money and get the property under control and get it to a title company. Doesn't it make more sense to go ahead and line up all the buyers first? That way, when you do find a deal, you just grab your buyers list and you call number 1, you want this? No. Number 2, you want this? No. Number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7. Oh, you do want it. Okay, great. Here's the details. And sell that thing literally within hours of getting it under contract, not days or weeks. You know, if it's a week, it's going to kill your deal as a rule. So join a real estate investor group like Real Wealth Academy, if not us, somebody, so that you can be around real estate investors, go to every event they have, pass out your business card and collect names of investors, cash investors, financed investors, hard money loan investors, doesn't matter. Collect 35, 40 names. Then get out there, get yourself on the foreclosure list, get yourself on the tax lien lists so that you know who the distressed sellers are. Then cultivate a group of 20 plus agents that know you by name, know what you're looking for, and know your capabilities. And you'll find generally more deals than you can do. I always did. I turned down deals every single month when I was a wholesaler. Every single month. I found more deals than I could do. So do those three things. There's also a great book out there on wholesaling, and let me pull it up. It's by Than Merrill. Than Merrill. It's called The Bible of Wholesaling, or The Wholesaling Bible, and you can find it at Amazon.com. So read that as well. He's got some great tips for how to locate properties. Okay, phone lines are open, 281-558-5738. That's 281-558-KSEV. Or email me at asksteve@luinc.com. Ask Steve. Oh my God, I said it again. Sorry. It's asksteve@getrealwealth.com. I was on the air for 17 years giving out that other email. Please, I apologize. My correct email is steve@getrealwealth.com, steve@getrealwealth.com, and I will email you after the show if I don't get to it during the show, but it will be from me. I don't have an assistant. It's from me because I love doing this. It's a lot of fun. Okay. Next question comes from a guy named Steve, which is, this is the classic tenant problem. He's got a tenant that calls him for every little thing. Steve, this probably goes back to your lease, and it goes back to the way that you leased it to the person. See, somewhere they may have come in with the expectation that that was okay. It's your job as the investor to eliminate that before they move in, or it will be a problem. One of the easiest ways to do that is when you sit down and you're signing the lease with the tenant, is you go through the lease line by line. And it will come to a point where you will be able to say, there's a $50 charge for each call out to your house. Can you see that eliminating stupid phone calls? Because they know it's going to cost them $50. Now, the fear is that they won't report big things, and they'll be afraid to call you at all, and things could go wrong with that. I've been at this for 30 years. Had over 100 single-family homes at one time, units, I should say. No, that doesn't happen. If it does, it happens to other people. It's never happened to me. So that's how you do it. You've got to set the expectation up when you're leasing the property to the tenant that they are not to do that. And just so the listeners know, this lady is calling up for light bulbs out, clogged toilets, clogged sink. Those are not the responsibility of the landlord. That's the responsibility of the tenant as a rule. Now, are there exceptions? Yeah, if the pipes break under the house and it clogs up the sink, that's different. I'm just talking about something that if somebody would grab a plunger and just plunge out the sink or plunge out the toilet, it goes away. You should never receive phone calls for that, especially phone calls for light bulbs out. This is an extreme case, Steve. So it may be this is somebody that you don't want to renew their lease, or you could use the strategy that I would probably use. When their lease comes up for renewal, go meet them and reset her expectations by going through the lease line item by line item by line item. Get her to initial it that when you call, if I have to come out there, it's $50. You'll be amazed how few phone calls you will get. You know, a lot of people listening to the show are like, man, don't you get phone calls at 2 in the morning? Been at this for 30 years, never had one. Never had one. I've only had maybe 2 or 3 phone calls in 30 years after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. 2 or 3. Yeah. People who tell you that rental property is difficult, it consumes a bunch of time. People that tell you that tenants call you at all times of the day are unqualified to tell you that, because it's not true. Not true at all. Okay? Phone lines are open, 281-558-5738, 281-558-5738. So in summarizing today's show, my big sales pitch at the beginning of the show was to get you, if I did my job correctly, and I hope I did, I got the point across to you that you should not be listening to anyone that's not in the financial position that you want to be in. In other words, parents, ask the question, before they give you financial advice, ask the question, are these people in the financial position that I want to be in when I'm their age? And what you're going to find, probably not. But don't be mean to these people. Don't ignore them. I listen, let it go in one ear and out the other. Same thing with teachers, same thing with professors, same thing with financial planners. Ask them. Especially your financial planner. Go, how many millions do you have in the bank, and are you retired? And all that retired means is that his passive income meets and exceeds all of his wants and needs. Doesn't mean that he doesn't work. It just means that he's got enough money, cash flow, to not work. Okay, this has been the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Remember that my email is open to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's AskSteve@GetRealWealth.com, AskSteve@GetRealWealth.com. Thank you for listening to AM 700 KSEV.
This has been the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Please remember that this show is for entertainment purposes only and should not be construed as legal, tax, or investing advice. Always get a professional opinion before making any investment decision. To find out about the mentoring and consulting at Real Wealth Academy, visit GetRealWealth.com and attend one of our free introductory workshops on real estate investing. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thanks for listening and have a great rest of your day.